Hey everybody, welcome to the Slick Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Langford. The point of this show is to help improve ourselves as dogmen and to raise the quality of the dogs on the end of our lead. So let's settle in, turn the volume up, and let's see if we can't learn a trick or two together from our guests.
My dad, who's Vic Fowler, when he would go to see his grandpa would take him sometimes to the tree and shoot the most squirrels out, whatnot. And, the cur dogs 50 years ago, they're not as spread out as they are now. They were probably somewhat located in Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, some of them southern eastern states. Because he's always said, if I've known of a cur dog back then, I would have ditched the hounds.
Mm-hmm.
And but he coon hunted for a good 20 years. Once he got out of high school, service and whatnot, and so once he got into the cur dogs and squirrel dogs, about that time I was kind of finishing high school and doing my own thing, and I'd still go with him, not as much. But as a kid, I went all the time, just every Friday and Saturday night that I could if I didn't have a sports event going on. But then once I got married, got busy with kids of my own, I didn't get to really hunt as much with the dogs. And so they kind of took a back seat. But now that my kids are grown and I'm kind of in a little better situation, I've gotten back into it, and that's where I'm at today.
Yeah. Well, everybody, this is the Slick Tree Podcast, and I'm your host, Colby Langford, and today we are joined by Brandon Fowler. It was kind of a last-minute deal getting him on here, but Brandon, I sure appreciate you to agreeing to giving us your time and letting us interview you.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I met Brandon a couple years ago. He put on some CBA hunts here in Oklahoma and has had a hand in some NSD and some. I think you helped Lane. Did you help Lane a little bit with his?
Yeah, I helped Lane a little bit with his.
Mm-hmm.
And his UKC hunts that he would hit.
Yep. But yeah, it's kind of how I met Brandon, hunting against him, and she was always packing a pretty good dog. I think you got me a couple times, and I think I might have got you once or twice.
Yeah, there's always a coin flip, with those two dogs we had.
Yeah, I just saw you post something about Jack the other day. I mean, that the good ones never last long enough, do they?
No, and I don't get attached to dogs because I've been around them all my life, but that one there, boy, he hit a whole new nerve on me, and it's been a year, and I still haven't quite gotten over that one.
Yeah.
It was just a freak deal, and had to put him down, and so I'm kind of starting over.
Yep, I feel you. Yes. Did you say about when? You said that your great grandpa and your dad hunted hounds. Do you remember about when they switched over to cur dogs? Or I guess it'd be your dad and you.
Yeah, my dad switched over probably early to mid 90s. He's had a cur dog at least since then. I think there's been a couple of years when he moved to McAllister whenever he didn't have one, but other than that, he's had one for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm. What you remember what lines you started hunting with or anything?
I don't. There's a couple that he had in the mid 90s. They were really nice squirrel dogs. He had a male dog that he got out of Tennessee from I believe it was Ned Beatty. Nice brindle male dog. Um, just a really good squirrel dog. Boy, we killed a lot of squirrels over him. And then he had a little yellow female that was he said that was limb gripper bred that he had for a few. He kept them till they died, and they were both really really nice. We we had some really good years with them dogs. Um, and then from then he's just had different ones through the years. He's never really just kept anything and raised anything, started anything. He would always just go find him a nice dog because he was just we were just meat hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever he had in the pen, we were happy with. I didn't really get into conversation with him as far as what this dog's out of or, blah, blah, blah. We just drop tailgate and start shooting squirrels. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What style of
But,
hunting you guys normally do?
well, I don't mind walk hunting and I don't mind road hunting. Um, when the squirrels are really moving and you're road hunting, it's a lot of fun, to pick them out of the trees as going down that road and watching the dogs really work, use their nose and wind and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad, he'd prefer just a road hunt. He's packing on a few extra pounds and he's an older guy, so it makes sense. But I'm happy with either one. It really makes no difference to me. I'll just go hunt
Mm-hmm.
however I need to hunt.
What your dad's done some stuff with some of the hunting legislation. Uh, he was pushing for some stuff. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, he's helped with the extending the season here in Oklahoma, which has been nice. This last February, here in Oklahoma, it gets hot quick, and even though our season runs from May 15th to usually January 31st for years, by the time you throw a dog in the mix, beginning, in the middle of May, when season opens to the end, sometimes it's 85 to 90 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just too hot. And so we went to the legislation and said, hey, can we extend at least a month? And these are the reasons why. And so he got that fixed. He's still kind of working on the limit. We have a 25 man limit here in Oklahoma. We've never killed a 25 man limit.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of squirrels.
I mean, that's a lot of squirrels. And unfortunately, down in southeast Oklahoma, the timber companies have cut our hardwoods out all over. So it's, if you get a 10 to 15 squirrel day on public land, you're really doing good. Now, you might get it on private, but I don't know anywhere is on public you could get it unless you had 3 or 4 dogs running around treeing every squirrel in there,
Mm-hmm.
But we're trying to get that knocked down to, I don't know, 10 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what he's got going on right now. And but getting extended, because sometimes you get a pup just wanting to click and you need that extra month, to poke a squirrel down or, it kind of helps, so that's been good.
Yeah, from what I've heard from biologists, it sounds like if the conditions are halfway decent, I mean, it's not unheard of for squirrels to have 3 litters a year. So it's kind of silly to shut it down for like a breeding season, kind of like you would think about it, like when you talk about whitetails or most other animals. It really doesn't make sense hardly to shut it down for that.
Right. Yeah. And we're not trying to knock the population down, or the limit, I guess I should say, to where a guy can't have a good mess. It's just that the predators are so hard on them. No, the bobcats, coyotes. Not a lot of people trap them nowadays, so
Mm-hmm.
they take their share. And if you have a squirrel migration where squirrels moved out, you can go to an area you can hunt all the time and kill a few squirrels, and then between them predators and whatnot, you can run out of squirrels pretty quick in an area.
Mm-hmm.
I know whenever I kind of got back into it a little bit and had Jack going, um, man, it didn't matter where I went. Me and Ricky Merrill, we hunted a lot, and we just killed just a few squirrels. And we had two young dogs, so we just kind of poked some down to, have a good mess. And it didn't matter what the weather was when we went. About 5 years ago, we just didn't hardly have any squirrels, but they're coming back. But I'd like to see the limit dropped. You know, at least to 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have just a whole lot of public up around me, which aren't hardly any other squirrel hunters up here either, which is, I guess, kind of a double-edged sword because there's no one to really hunt with up here by me, but at the same time, there's no one else pressuring the squirrels on what little public we do have.
Yep, yep.
I don't know if you said exactly or more or less about whereabouts you're from.
I'm from Shawnee. I grew up in that area. Been there pretty much all my life. Um, Spent about a year or so in Kansas, and then come back. But pretty much been right here in the central area all my life.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of public around me. I have to drive 45, at least 45 minutes to any public land around me.
Mm-hmm.
But I always try to go down southeast and put my dogs in shape early and road hunt them a little bit, and poke a few down to them, have some for the frying pan.
Yeah. I know that you put on some couple OMCBA Oklahoma hunts. Uh, why don't you talk us through the process? Like, what if somebody were wanting to start a hunt club that was sanctioned through OMCBA? What's that process look like?
Me and Ricky got to talk. We were hunting one day, and he's like, you know what? We ought to have some OMCBA hunts here, and we talked about it and this and that and off and on, and finally I was like, hey, let's just see if we can get some guys together and do that. And I'll get with Carl Smith through the president of OMCBA, and so I got with Troy Bates to help me and Ricky to help me, and so I called Carl, talked to him, and he let us have our club hunt, and it's just went from there. And I've been doing it, I think, for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't.
So I enjoy doing that for guys around this area west of the Mississippi, because there's not a whole lot of OMCBA hunts. I
There's
think
not.
maybe just Arkansas and Oklahoma.
They might have had. I almost want to say they had a Texas last year, but yeah, there's not. There's not much this on this side.
No, no, there's not. So I like doing it. And meeting guys. I like doing that. It's very rare do you come across a guy in the squirrel hunts that are just jerks. I've found that to be more true in the coon hunts. It's a little more serious deal, but even though these squirrel hunts get serious too, with all the money nowadays and whatnot, they're still good guys.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't.
But
I
there's
haven't
always going
ran
to be
into
a bad
much.
apple in the bunch somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So, tell me about what you're hunting right now.
Well, since I had to put my dog down last year, um, I took my dad's female, who was a full sister to my Jack dog. I took her and bred her to McCarty's Big Stomp. And just to give a background on my dad's female, she is a granddaughter to Hardwood Dagger on the top side and the bottom side. She's jukebox, got some streak back in there, got some Mountain Jackson, a little bit of Geronimo. Um, she's been a great dog. I mean, my dad's had a lot of fun with her and killed a lot of squirrels with her. Um, so I took her and bred her Stomp, got me a pup, and I've raised her and got her going. And I've not had her out in a month because it's been so hot, and I've been on vacation and whatnot. So, um, but she'll treat me a squirrel. I'm going to try to work on some stuff with her between now and December and see where she's at and see if she's worth taking to Jamestown or not. Um, we didn't get her mama LMC registered through NSD, but I'm going to NSD register. Um, Back when all that was going on, I was working pretty heavy, and I don't think my dad ever really noticed the LMC stuff going on because he don't competition hunt or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm at least going to NSD register my little female. That way, if I ever raise a litter of pups, people know that I'm honest and
Mm-hmm.
they'll know what they're getting.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I'm working on right now. Um,
How do you like to start one?
just I started taking that little Jeep as soon as she was weaned, and I take her to Atwoods with me. I drive around the truck with her, just get her used to the truck and the cars. And once she got big enough to ride in the box, because I don't like one riding the seat very long. I don't want them throwing up my truck. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but she never did. And so I just started hauling her all over and at different times of the day. And I'd take her hunting different times of the day, even if it was hot, we were only out there 30 minutes, as a young pup. I'm talking, 3, 4 months old. And then I got to where I put some hanging feeders up, and I just take her to the woods and let her meander, do her own thing. And she treated her first squirrel at 5.5 months old. And I was still at the time packing a 22 just to get her used to a gun and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there just not paying attention to her. I actually had my back turned to her, and there must have been a squirrel been down on the ground, and she treated it. And of course, I missed the dang squirrel. But after that, I was like, man, that's the hard part. That's done. Because now I know she can tree one. Now the next thing is, how's she going to progress from here? And she's progressed okay. I'm not going to go hungry. I don't know, how much I'll win with her. There's a bunch of good dogs out there. But she's got a great nose. So I'm kind of counting on that nose a little bit to maybe put me in the winner's circle a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But she's not a hard tree dog. I wish she was a little bit harder tree dog, but I can live with what she is, for now.
Yeah.
Because the hound guy in me always, I want my hounds. If I'm gonna have a hound, I want that 110 minute bark, a minute
Hmm.
on my hound. Sometimes I get carried away wanting that with my cur dog, and then I'm like, well, you know what? If they just bark just enough to hold that squirrel, then that's all I need. Um, so I don't need a real hard tree dog, as a cur dog.
Yeah, everybody likes one, but I mean there's arguments for them both ways. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially when you're hunting in the heat.
yeah, for sure. And the now she if she sees a squirrel, she don't bark. She really don't bark. She likes to watch it.
Hmm.
Um, but she'll still, I think, keep me out of the 2 minute clock. I think, where she don't get me penalized. She'll bark just enough to keep me out of that trouble.
Hmm. So yeah.
Um, but she's starting to range out a little bit, do all right. I'm gonna start taking her coon hunting a little bit, and just go from there. I'm just gonna have fun with her,
Yeah.
until I get something else to play with.
But you got another pup right now, don't you?
I do. Um, I took I took the mama back to Donnie McCurdy and bred his Pac-Man male, and I've got a male out of that, and he's still young. He's 8 or 9 months old. Let's see. Yeah, I think he's nine months old, and I've done the same thing, taking him out. Um, I'm not spending a lot of time with him, but I sent you a video of him, and
Hmm.
he likes to use his nose too. It just kind of hit where I was busy with some things, and the heat hit, and I've just not had him out as much. But he's fixing to start seeing some time
Yeah.
and get his chance and see what he can't
Yeah. It's
make me.
it's gonna cool off sooner or later, and I think everybody's pretty well fired up after summer. I know I usually
Yeah,
am going into the
these.
fall.
Yeah, these Oklahoma summers they're brutal. You know, I know it's hot in other areas of the country, but you throw, I don't know. I don't know if Oklahoma's part desert. I don't know, but it gets hot. And I don't know how some of them guys coon hunt their hounds at night, when it's even this time of year when it's 92 degrees, at midnight.
Hmm.
I don't know how they do it. Well, I mean, I guess I could probably do it if I wanted to, but I'd just rather not to anymore.
Yeah. Oh well. What else you got going on, Brandon?
Oh,
You got any good hunting
I'll tell
stories?
you. Yeah, I got a couple hunting stories for you.
Okay.
Um, the first time I hunted, well, let me back up. My dad called me and said, "Hey, there's a guy down here that bought a pup, which is Jack, off of Ray Pruitt. Ray, Ray had the mama. His brother had the daddy, and he made that cross. And he sold Jack as a puppy to a guy named Verlin Anderson, and Verlin got him going and treeing and whatnot. And one day Verlin called my dad and asked him if he'd want Jack. So Dad called me and I said, "Well, I'm not really in a position to have a dog right now." I said, "But if you get him, I'll we better get him because we don't know. You never know what's going to happen to your dog. You might go out there be dead, one day and healthy the next,
Mm-hmm.
healthy one day and dead the next.
Seen it.
And yeah, I've seen it a bunch. And so Dad got him, and we went hunting. And Dad had a little female that was she's pretty salty too. She was a direct daughter of Mighty Mick, and tree dog, really nice female. And they were in their split tree, I don't know, 20, 15, 20 yards maybe. And Jack had that squirrel, and I just got to looking at his color, and he was just a beautiful dog. And so I told Dad, I said, "You mind if I take this dog home and hunt him?" And he said, "No, I don't care." So I had him from that day on. From the very first time I hunted with him, I took him hunting all the time. And then there's a friend of mine that lives here in New Walla. He's got a cur dog that he calls Juke. His name's Chris Stevens, and he got with me one day and said, "Hey, let's go take our dogs." I said, "All right." So we went hunting for a little bit. Jack just disappeared, and I didn't even give competition hunting a thought at that time. But he was 400 yards treed, so we go to him, and Chris said, "Hey, how old's this dog?" And I said, "He's like 13, 14 months old." Because I think my dad got him at 10 months old, 11 months old, something like that. And so Chris was like, "Dang, that's the kind of dog, just you want a dog to kind of get out by itself and be treated like that." He said, "My dog didn't know where he was at." And so he got me to hunting some NKC hunts up around Ochalita, which is north of Tulsa. And that's how I got to meeting Ricky Merrill, Troy Bates, and Todd Bates, and Riley Harlow, and some of them guys. And so I had a little bit of success with him on that. And so a couple years later, I think, Riley had a NKC state hunt. Me and Chris loaded up and went to it. And the first round, I drew Todd Bates and his rooster dog. And then I drew Rick Harlow, which was Riley's son. And so me and Todd were kind of neck and neck through the whole cast. And there was about, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds left. And Jack treed. Todd said, "You better tree that dog." And I said, "Well, tree your dog." He said, "My dog ain't going to make the next round." Because old Rooster, he liked to eat. And he was Todd's buddy. And I appreciate Todd just talking me into calling him, because I called him. Walked in there, he had the squirrel. So the hunt's over by this time. Well, that squirrel timbers out before I can get my dog leashed. Me and Todd both. That squirrel timbered out. There's a big rock ledge. Them dogs took off after. Climbed that wall. I don't know how they climbed that wall. Up that, it was a straight face rock wall. I don't know how they did it. Anyways, it come to that rock wall came to a stop. And old Rooster, he stopped. And old Jack, that squirrel barreled off that ledge, and he hit that tree that was at the end of it. And Jack, he went off with it. And somehow or another, he twisted around some tree, landed on some rock, and jumped down, off a 20 or probably about a 12-foot ledge, and old Rick thought he was a goner, but he had so much athleticism about him. He wasn't scared of nothing. and I'm still amazed today that he was even able to do that, you know. But I would see him jump logs, you know, cruising through the timber, and he first time Ricky Merrill saw that, he's like, I think that dog's part deer. I've never seen a dog jump like that. But everywhere he went, he would go with his nose in the air, and he would just clear stuff. And but it was always something like that, you know, with that dog. He just now when he was young, that sucker could flat out run a deer. I took him one time when I first got him without a shot collar. I had to go pick him up a mile away.
Hmm.
Um, but the more electricity he got, the more the more he quit the deer. But if one jumped up in front of him and he didn't know it was sitting there, he couldn't resist. He had to chase it. You know, he was just gamey. He was just a gamey dog. Same with the hog. He'd bumped a couple hogs for me. Um, but I'd have a playground in my house, and he'd run up and get in that playground or one of them little wooden playgrounds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he'd just get up there. I'd let him run loose in my yard. He'd just get up there and sit, and he'd wait for squirrels, you know, come out in the yard.
Got him a little
Now, he
vantage
never
perch.
caught one. He never caught one, but he was close a couple times. Uh, but I saw him treat me a couple bobcats. Um, he was just a fun. He was one of those fun dogs to hunt. You know, I could let him out in my yard, and if I went through the gate, because I live in town right now. You know, if I was to do some work in my flower bed or whatever it was I'm doing, he'd be standing right there beside me. You know, he didn't go run off um, or do anything like that. Uh, One time he fit through a small cat door. We have some small house dogs, and my wife, we were going to a July 4th party, and she's like, "Won't you let him run around?" I'm like, "Well, I can't let this dog run around, you know." Well, he's in the pen, and I said, "Well, I'll let him run around today." So she talked me into letting him out where we were going. Well, I come home, and he's nowhere to be found in my yard. And of course, I start panicking, you know, and so I'm hollering for him, and there he is. I was on the back porch, and he must have heard me in the house because he stuck his head through that cat door, and I don't know how he got his 45-pound body through that cat door and didn't break it. He didn't break it.
Hmm.
But he was in the house. You know, he didn't make a mess or do anything, but uh, he was just in there killing, I guess. You know, so I got him, put him back in the pen, and but he figured out on my back door if he slapped the handle and push against it, he just let himself in the house too. You know, he he was just smart like that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I miss the most about his personality. You know, he just I could I could let him out of the dog pen and I could go to the truck and load him up. Didn't have to worry about him, you know, running off. Same thing. We come back from hunting. It didn't matter if we hunted for 30 minutes or all day, and he was full of energy. I could open the dog box, walk to the gate, let him in the yard. You know, he never run off. But as far as competition style dog, he really wasn't that. But I learned, you know, I used him to learn some stuff with him because I'd been out of competition stuff for so long. Because I haven't done it since I was a kid with just the hounds, and so I used him for that. It's been a great learning experience, and I owe him a lot for that. Met a lot of nice guys um, because of him, and I don't know if he'll ever be able to be replaced, you know.
Yeah.
But I sure had fun the last 5, 6 years with him that I had him.
Yep. It's hard to replace them.
And he, it used to really make me mad because he hunted different if I took him to a competition hunt than if I were to go take and kill squirrels over him.
What would he
You
do?
know, I think he could tell the difference in the shot collar compared to the regular tracking collar,
Mm-hmm.
and he would do things that he knew he wasn't supposed to do. And, if I took him, most times if I took him with another dog just to kill squirrels, he might go honor them a little bit, but eventually he would go off on his own. And sometimes on them competition hunts, he would stay and just he would stay with another dog longer than he ever should have. Um, but sometimes he would eventually get out, do his own thing. But it might take him an hour and 50 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's I did I did notice that about him, and it irritate me, because I he could just clip them off if I were killing squirrels, but if I were on a hunt, he just acted totally different.
Yeah. Did you coon hunt Jack much?
No, I never really did. He treated me a few daytime coons, but I never did. Um, and I should have, but where I live, it's hard to find some places to coon hunt, and so it's just easier for me to squirrel hunt. So I just never really coon hunted him.
Gotcha.
But I'm gonna start taking this little female, this little niece I got to him. I'm gonna start taking her and do a little coon hunt with her. Kind of help move her along, I think.
Well, let's see. You got any more stories?
I'm always amazed at dogs that how good they can smell.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to narrow it down to one trait that I want more than anything in a dog, I'm always on the fence of whether I want brains or nose. Um, I think they're a close first and second because
Yeah.
I have to have a dog with brains. I have to have one. My pet peeve on a dog is a handle. I want them dogs to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to know what they're doing. And so that's probably the first thing, and then the nose is a close second. Um, but my dad had him down southeast one day, road hunting Jack, him and a friend of ours, and he said that dog stopped right in the middle of the road, and he said he watched him on his Garmin, and he said he went like 430 something yards or something like that. It was over 400 yards. Fell treed. Guy walked in there, killed the squirrel. Now, squirrels aren't very big. And you take a dog that can win like that, you know, it's impressive. Um, and that's what I liked about him. He always used that nose, but he had the brains to back that nose up. But that's why I went and bred to Stomp to get a little more nose. And I think it's helped my little female. She's winded some squirrels on my leash uh, over 100 yards a couple times. And so I think she's got the nose, that I'm wanting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but, he would do stuff like that. You could hunt him all day. It didn't matter. That dog was tough. He could just hunt all day. Um, Now my wife didn't like him barking at the yard squirrels on a Saturday morning, at 7 o'clock. I, I got chewed on quite a bit for that.
Hmm.
But but the best day I had with him was with me and my dad. We had his female and Jack, and I think we killed 19 or 20 that day, road hunting and doing a little bit of walk hunting. Um, but he never acted like he was tired the whole time. We hunted a good, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours, and we did breed him some. I think bred him about 4 or 5 times. My son's got a really nice male out of him. Super smart. You might meet him here at some hunts. He's trying to learn a little bit and get involved in it. So I'm sure eventually you'll meet him.
Yeah.
Um, but
Is that dog Matt McLean's got out of him?
it goes back to no the pup I hauled to Matt is a grand pup to my dad's female.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how I think the dad, Dane England owns the dad to that pup, and he owns the mama too. But I think his male dog, Cheerio, is out of my dad's female and a dog named Kamichi Buck. I think I'm not 100% on that. And then the female goes back to same of the bloodline as what my Jack dog was. It's pretty well probably a cousin, to our dogs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad Matt likes him. He's been a good dog for Matt. He's got a good personality about him, and I like that because you take a pup to someone, you hope that it turns out for them
Every time.
every time. It doesn't matter if it comes from 2 pot lickers or 2 world champions. You just hope it turns out for what they want. And it sounds like he's had fun with him for the last couple of years. And I enjoy his posts about that dog too.
Yeah.
It seems like that dog's always into something.
Yeah.
And that was the thing about Jack. Like if I was outside, he didn't want to be in that pen. He wanted to be out right beside me doing whatever I was doing, and he loved me. That dog loved me. He aimed to please me, and he did that in the short time I had him. When I had to take him to the vet, he had some kidney issues, and I don't know what brought that on. I've got an idea of it. About I don't know. He was about a year and a maybe 2 years old. I had left my shop door open, and he was out running around. And I went in the house for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. And I come out, and I noticed some trash over in my yard. So I went and picked it up because it wasn't there whenever I let him go out of his pen. And he had gotten into some dang rat bait. So I got him to the vet, and they poured, I don't know, 2 or 3 bottles of hydrogen peroxide
Mm-hmm.
down him, and he threw it all up. That was an expensive lesson there. I could have poured the peroxide down myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know that little trick at the time. And
It,
so uh, they got it all out of him. I would say it was out of him within 15, 30 minutes. But I think it was in him long enough to cause effects down the road.
yeah,
Um, and I got hit by a tornado last year, and it slung his dog pen about 15 yards. I didn't have it. That storm got up on us so quick that I didn't have time to do anything. And so he wrote it out. Of course, I got him in good insulated metal, houses. And I don't know if he sustained an injury because of that. I don't know. But when they run the tests on him, I just come home from work one day and he just lethargic. He just wasn't his happy self.
mm-hmm.
And so I called the vet and kept waiting and waiting, and they were having some issues, some phone app issues, and so I got him there the next morning, and they run all their tests, and they did what they could do for about 3 days, and I couldn't watch him suffer any longer. So I took him back after a weekend and had him put down. Of course, I felt guilty 100%, like, something I did. Fortunately, the vet tech, I've known her since she was born. Me and her dad and mom, we all went to school together. And she was good at telling me, hey, there was other underlying issues going on with him. There was nothing you've done. But I always wondered back if there was something hereditary, or if it was just because of that poison just got in him long enough that didn't do anything at that time, but it did enough for down the road.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
But I was just in the process of getting my semen tank ready, getting ready to pull semen off of him, and then all that happened and didn't get it done.
Yeah, I knew you talked about wanting to pull some on him.
Yeah, there's not much of that blood left. Of course, the more you breed it, the further away it gets away.
Yeah.
Um, we did have a litter out of him, and I took one of those pups, and it wasn't him, and I just couldn't. I gave it to a friend of ours, and I think he's got him treating some coon now, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't look at him, I just, as much as I kind of love that pup, I was a love-hate relationship, and I just wasn't over his daddy, and so I gave him away. And I said, I'll just go a different route.
Yeah.
But he was something, like I said, I'll take a dog with that personality over a world champion any day. Because dogs like that are smart and can listen, you can get them to do whatever you want
Mm-hmm.
if you're good enough to recognize it. And I could get him to do whatever he wanted. I let him ride up in the front of the truck. He didn't want to, but I got him to do it. I got him to sit, stay. I got him to jump on that playground, jump off. Not a mean bone in his body. He was just a great, smart dog. And being around dogs all my life, I've not seen too many of them with that personality that he had, that I love. Even though there's some that were better dogs than he was, I just love that style of dog.
Yeah. If we can jump backwards just a little bit, you mentioned about hunting hounds when you were younger. What kind of hounds were you hunting? Talk a little bit more about that if you don't mind.
The first hound my dad owned was a double Finley River bred dog. They called him Rowdy. Um, he bought him as a young dog, lightly started, finished him out, championed him out. Um, and anytime my parents couldn't find me, I'd be balled up there in a doghouse with that dog, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and Dad, I don't know, Dad had him, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And by this time, I was big enough to walk to him, pet him, and unleash that dog snap off his chain. And I'd done that once. Dad come home from work, and he was treed back off behind our house. I grew up on my grandparents' place, and we had plenty of room to roam back there. So he went back there and got him. And the next day, he come home, and I had done it again, and we never saw that dog again. And so, as far as hound wise on bloodlines, because I was so young and didn't really pay attention to a whole lot of stuff, as far as, the breeding, papers on some of them dogs, I couldn't tell you what else he owned that was out of whatever. But after losing that dog, it kind of took the wind out of his sail, and he didn't competition hunt as much. And he had another good one that he lost. And so he just kind of hung up the competition stuff and just pleasure hunted from there on out. Sometimes I get the itching for wanting a hound, because that's what I grew up on. Unfortunately, I just don't think I could give it the attention it needs. COVID sure took that out of me. The fatigue, I still battle some of that. So that's one reason I don't do a whole lot of coon hunting. But I see these hounds, and I'll be like, well, I could do a little competition hunting in the summer, or early fall. And then I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna do the dog justice,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like you, if I want to go to a hunt, I want to be packing one that's got a chance just like everyone else does. So that kind of keeps me away from the hounds. I'm going to go to some of the NSD hunts and take my little female, see where she's at. And then, like I said earlier depending on where she's at, I'll see if I want to take her to Jamestown. I like going to Tennessee because they got pretty good food through there,
Mm-hmm.
And I get to see some friends that I got there. So, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck with both your pups.
I appreciate it.
Hopefully get something going, and we can hunt against each other before too long again.
Yeah. You got, don't you have a Pac-Man pup coming?
I do. I do. I have one out of I've got a pup ordered out of Pac-Man and litter mate to my old hoss dog female,
Yep. Yep.
which she just got bred not
Yeah.
too long ago. So
Yeah. Probably about 3 weeks ago.
probably, yeah.
Yeah. Should be some good ones.
I hope so.
and it's hard to, not like Donnie. He's got two good stud dogs. He got good dogs all the way around. Good guy to deal with. And I sure like dealing with guys like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think next year I'll probably get me another stomp pup that's LMC registered. That way I can get into some more of these hunts and meet more people. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I think this year or 2025, if the world is still turning, I think I've got a date set. I've not called Carl to get it scheduled, but I'm fixing to do that here probably within the next week or two whenever I remember to call him. But I think my next OMCBA hunt will be January 24th and 25th. If anyone's got questions or whatever, they can always message me. Or they can message you. You can get them in touch with me as well.
Absolutely.
I've held 2 or 3 hunts down at Hodgen, which is eastern part of the state. It's kind of mountainous in that area. Pretty tough hunting. I always appreciate the guys that come and support that. I've had a couple of them at Ricky's house, or his shop there. And then I had one at Lane's this past spring. Pretty good squirrel population around there. Good squirrel population around Ricky's. I did have a guy contact me about a month or so ago. He's got a cabin west of Broken Bow. Got a kitchen. I think he's got 16 bunks in that cabin. So I may host it. I may get with him to reserve his cabin and reserve that to have the hunt west of Broken Bow.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a drive for you and most other guys because we all live on the kind of a north central, northeast side,
Yeah.
There's a few guys down in the south central, southeast part. But I figured if I held it down there, might pull some guys from Texas, guy or two from Louisiana, maybe 1 or 2 from Mississippi. So if they want to come, but I'll post that on Facebook when it gets a little closer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's about my favorite area down there. It can be tough hunting, but man, you talk about beautiful.
Yeah. I've got to know a young man that's used to be a technician for our wildlife department, and he's got a nice little cur jib he's been working on, and so he told me, he said, hey, if you get it down here, if you want to host it down here, I got plenty of private spots. I got some great public spots around some lakes, and so I'm all about that. I always like to have the best competition I can. Show up.
Mm-hmm.
Whether my dog draws them or not, I always like to go with the best dog. Go watch the best dogs in the final round, So, hopefully, if that's where I host it, or our club hosts it this year, we'll have some guys show up from other states.
Yeah. Well, that's we're getting close to an hour now. That's about as much time as we got, but once again, Brandon, I sure appreciate you coming on, and especially last minute like it was, and helping me out with this interview.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on here. I'm not the greatest talker. I sometimes stumble over my words and
Oh, I think you did just
whatnot.
fine.
But we hopefully can have us another good dog. I know you miss Hoss as much as I miss Jack, and maybe we'll be able to get us something going so we
Yeah.
can see each other some more.
Yeah, I'm about to the point of just refinancing my house and just buying something.
Well, I thought about that too.
I like
I
being
have
able to
thought
say
about
I
that
started
too.
them myself, but I'm about to the point where it's like, man, maybe I'm just not very good at starting dogs. Maybe I just ought to buy one.
I don't know if you know this. I haven't. I'm big in traditional archery. I haven't in the last few years hunted as much with my longbow and whatnot. And I told my wife the other day, I was like, I sure like me a new longbow. And she said, well, what's it cost? And I told her, she said, well, that wasn't too bad. And I'm like, well, maybe another dog, maybe this dog I want ain't will be too bad either.
Yeah, you ain't got to feed them bows though.
Yeah, you got to feed them bows, that's for sure. But yeah, I have thought about that, but I sure like to mess with a pup a little bit, and I take a little pride in saying I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you don't always get to do that, and in today's world of competition hunting, I mean, everybody's jockeying, dogs to put them in the winner circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I wouldn't do that if I had a little more money in my pocket,
Yeah. Oh, it's
because
tempting.
I'd sure love to get into the USDC stuff. Uh, my pockets just aren't quite that deep yet, or I don't have the dog power just yet, but I'm working on that. But time will tell if I get to do it. Not competition hunted since I was a kid. Playing sports, that just being competitive, I love it. So I'm glad I'm glad Chris Stevens got me back into doing the competitions and whatnot, because I wouldn't get to meet guys like you, Troy Bates, Ricky Lane, and some other guys that are out there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna close her out. But uh, well, everybody, take care and keep wearing out that boot leather. I just want to give everyone that's listening a sincere thank you. Getting this podcast going has been a project. I really hope you're enjoying it, and if you don't mind, give the show a good rating and review wherever you're listening to it at, or share it on your social media to help get some traction. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.